Yes, 15 total. We have 10 attendees and 5 panelists. So we're about 4 minutes in at this point. It looks like we kind of leveled off so far as new people coming in here. So I think this is probably a good time to kind of give some information that may be helpful through the process of the webinar. So for our attendees, you'll notice that your camera's off and that your microphone is off. This is just kind of standard for the city so far as how we do public meetings. It's certainly not to try to stifle you for communication or anything like that. It's just so that we can maintain kind of clear and concise communication with y'all. If you do have questions throughout the webinar, then you will see a Q&A feature down in the bottom of your screen. Feel free to drop questions in there. As the moderator, I'll be checking it out and making sure that questions are getting answered and those kinds of things. And then also keep an eye on your chat box. You can click the chat button at the bottom to open that, as I'll be dropping in some links to some resources and other kind of things that may be of interest to the group. So yeah, and I forgot to mention too, for those that are attending, my name is Preston Peck. I am the Recycle Reset project lead, focusing on changes to the residential recycling program. We'll talk a little bit more about that in our presentation. So I'll go ahead and stop the polling right now and then share the results so that you all can see. About half of the attendees heard about it via Facebook, about another little less than half from the EnviroHouse email, either through a workshop or just a general EnviroHouse email. So thank you all so much for participating in the poll. And now I will pass it over to Janda to let her give a little introduction about the EnviroHouse and upcoming events.
Okay, thank you and welcome, and stay with us for the next couple of months because we've got a lot of things coming up. Next week we are doing chickens, how to raise chickens in the morning, how to build and coop and run and keep your chickens safe in the afternoon. On the 20th we will be doing composting, and on the 27th we will be doing heat pumps, home heating and cooling. And we're planning April right now. The whole month of April is going to be recognized as Earth Month instead of just Earth Day. So we will be doing, in conjunction with the Sustainability Office, we will be having probably 2, 3, 4 events a month or a week. And those will be webinars. There'll be short versions of webinars. There'll be short videos. There'll just be different ways of getting information that may be really useful to you. So check back with us and follow our link on the City of Tacoma, the EnviroHouse webpage, which is cityoftacoma.org/EnviroHouse. And if that isn't in our chat or in our list of emails, we can put that in Preston can put that in the chat for you, or I can. So with that, I'll turn it back to Preston, and he can introduce our panelists and we'll get going.
Perfect. Thank you, Janda. Yeah, so as I mentioned, my name is Preston Peck, Recycle Reset project lead. Today on our webinar on what goes where around recycling and food waste in the city of Tacoma, we will be talking about kind of some nuances within the recycling industry, some changes that have occurred for the city of Tacoma for the recycling program, and then also we'll talk about kind of some common what goes where to make sure and test your knowledge to make sure that you know where to put, how to properly dispose of different kinds of items. And then we will also talk about a little bit later in the presentation about our food and yard waste program. So I'd like to give an opportunity. Go ahead, Janda.
You're going to talk about the Recycle Center a little bit too, right?
Correct. Yes, we will talk about the Recycle Center a little bit and let folks know a lot of different resources today. So we hope that it's going to be helpful. But first, we will have a couple of folks with the recycling program, Joshua Christie and Maria Teresa Gamez. So I'll give them an opportunity real quick if y'all just want to jump in and introduce yourself. And then Dan, you can introduce yourself. Dan Corum with the Food and Yard Waste program can introduce himself.
Yeah, Josh Christie with the Recycle Reset project specialist. I'm happy to be here and to talk about recycling.
Good morning, everyone. Maria Teresa Games, Recycle Reset project specialist, and happy to be here as well.
Good morning. I'm Dan Corum. I'm a resource conservationist with solid waste. looking forward to speaking with you a little later on.
Great. Thank you, folks. At this point, then, I will pass it over to Josh to kick us off and start talking about the recycling program. I'll be keeping an eye on the question and answers in the chat box, so feel free to use those throughout the presentation. And off to you, Josh.
All right, sounds good. Let's see. Let me do this. There we go. All right. So why is it that we need to reset our recycling project? You've heard this term recycle, reset, and that's what we're going to be talking about. So first, I want to give just a little context. We're going to be talking a lot about something called contamination. So contamination is anything that's not accepted in the curbside recycling bin, but ends up there anyways. So we got some pictures here on the right of some common contaminants, plastic bags, food, and we're going to talk a lot about this term. So we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And we know when we're going to talk about contamination, it's something that ends up in our curbside recycling bin, but maybe the system isn't designed for it or it causes mold. There's lots of reasons for contamination. So, and why is contamination a big deal? Well, actually, a lot of it goes back to international economics, if you can believe that. Let's see here. And a lot of it goes back to something called China's National Sword Policy. And this was implemented on January 1st, 2018. China was more or less before that serving as the world's garbage bin. And a lot of it actually came from recycling. So China would buy a lot of recycling from across the world. And unfortunately, a lot of that recycling, particularly the plastic recycling, had large amounts of contamination in it. And that meant that actually it couldn't be changed into something new and ended up being landfilled. And eventually, as you can imagine, China decided that that was not in its interest. And it banned the import of certain types of solid waste. It basically placed strict limits on how much contamination could go in the recycling that was coming into China from other countries. Initially, they were taking about a 5% contamination rate, and they changed that to 0.5%. Now, a 0.5% contamination rate is very, very small. It effectively banned importing this plastic recycling that had, because it's really hard to get to 0.5% contamination. And this really changed the international economics of recycling. It's kind of a classic supply and demand issue where a really big player was buying all this recycling across the world. And then it decided, nope, we're not going to buy this. And the value of recycled materials across the world really plummeted. And so a lot of places didn't know where to send their recycling. And the economic incentive for recycling really decreased. And it really caused any municipality that was doing recycling to review its system. And that's why we in Tacoma had a recycle reset. We put out a survey, maybe some of you participated in that survey and remember it, asking residents, well, what should we do about this? Asking, do you value the recycling system? And the residents overwhelmingly came back and said, yes, we do value our residential recycling system. And so we had to make some changes in order to accommodate and keep the recycling system going. So one of the most notable ones that maybe some of you know about is the recycling surcharge. So before that, recycling was basically free. And it was, and with this surcharge, it became $2.82 a month. And $2.32 of that is in increased processing, marketing, and shipping costs, and 50 cents went to education and outreach. And that was another part of the survey that came back that was really interesting, is that residents really wanted to know what is and is not accepted in the recycling and didn't feel like they had the education necessary to understand that. So yeah, another big part about the recycle reset was to make sure that our recycling system was empty, clean, and dry, and to make sure that what goes into our recycling bin actually can be made into new materials. And therefore, what goes in is really important, that there isn't contamination and that's empty, clean, and dry. And another part of the recycle reset was an analysis of our glass methodology. So we switched from a curbside glass pickup system to a drop-off location. And we're going to talk more about that later. But basically, we saw in that analysis that the curbside system was pretty inefficient. And lastly, a big part of the recycle reset was getting rid of some of the problem items to make sure that we actually can take what goes into our curbside recycling and make it into something new. Got rid of plastic bags and shredded paper, which had been accepted, but were actually quite hard on the recycling system. So I think with that, I'm going to pass it on to Maria, and Maria will talk a little bit more about what is and is not accepted.
Thank you, Josh. So in order to keep the $2.82 surcharge that Josh mentioned, and to avoid increasing it to $4, we implemented some actions like moving to a glass drop-off model, and we also had to remove problematic items. So here are some of them. So paper plates and cups and milk, soup, cream cartons are not recyclable because they have a thin plastic layer to make them resistant to moisture. Single-use items like utensils and straws are not recyclable either. The problem with these items is that they are small and thin and bend easily, so they can fall into the cracks and crevices of the recycling machinery. Therefore, most recyclers do not accept them. And these little coffee pots are not accepted either. Very thin plastic, and they are never clean. The clamshell containers and plastic bags require a different process to be recycled. So you can put them in the trash, or you can collect them and bring them to the Tacoma Recycle Center. The pizza boxes are cardboard, but they are always greasy and can contaminate the rest of the recycling. So to the trash. Aluminum foil and shredded paper are trash as well. And the medicine containers go in the trash too. They are considered contaminated, and the plastic cups are trash as well. And the styrofoam food containers go in the trash too. But if you have big pieces of styrofoam, like the ones that come in the electronic boxes, you can bring them to the Tacoma Recycle Center, where we have the infrastructure to process them. Next, please. So the plastic items that we see here are recyclable, and they need to be empty, clean, and dry. That's super important. And it's best if you remove their lids and caps and put them in the trash. Mixed paper, like bigger than business cards, and flattened boxes are good recycling items. And aluminum and steel cans are accepted and desirable too. Next, please. So before, some of us used to look at numbers under the containers, but an easier way to determine if we can recycle these plastic items or not is by their shape. We know that there are many changes that are hard to remember, so we try to find ways to make this easier for all of our customers. This is one of those ways. And we also have some resources that I'll be sharing as I go through them. Next, please. So empty, clean, and dry. That is very important from now on for all of us to keep in mind. So we don't need to wash and rewash an item. Just a quick rinse and check will suffice, but it is important to get used to do it. Next, please. Okay, so the curbside collection was causing some impacts to the system. And one of them is that it requires 3 to 4 trucks, while this glass drop-off stations model requires only 1 truck per day, and then we can send the glass to Seattle. This reduces our carbon footprint, and customers can combine their trips with other errands, reducing the impact as well. Also, curbside glass collection is not entirely safe for our workers, and their good health and safety is a priority for solid waste management. So what happened with the glass that we collect in these stations and at the recycle center? The glass is hauled to the Tacoma Recovery and Transfer Center. And then when we have enough glass to fill a large trailer truck, it is taken to Strategic Materials in Seattle for processing and recycling. So I saw that Preston shared a link to the website where you can find all the information about these drop-off locations. You can find the schedules, the addresses, and the items that are accepted. Most of the locations accept household batteries as well, and some of them also accept cardboard and scrap metal. Next, please. Okay, so this is our Tacoma Recycle Center. So the glass and some other items that are not accepted in curbside recycling, such as like the styrofoam and plastic bags and film, like the clamshell containers, can be hand sorted for recycling at the Tacoma Recycle Center. This is located at the Tacoma Recovery and Transfer Center, where actually hazardous waste, like including certain yard and cleansing chemicals, oil, and batteries can also be dropped there. So we're sharing, I saw that Preston shared a link where you can find all the information about the Tacoma Recovery and Transfer Center, as well as all the recycling guides, including the Recycle Center and Hazardous Waste Center ones. So here you can see the address on the slide. And yeah, please take a look at the website because it's a pretty amazing place. Next, please. Part of those tools that I mentioned before is this Recycle Coach app. And so we have these resources available to make it easier for all of us. And there's a lot of changes to memorize. So we wanted to make sure you have all what you need to make this easy and to hopefully make it part of your home routines. This app is super cool because it reminds you of your collection days, and also you can type in an item and it will tell you where it goes, if it goes in the trash or if it is recycling or not. And also our website that Preston is sharing right now has the same Ask Milo. You can type an item there and it will tell you where it goes, if it's trash, if you can bring it to the recycling center or not. And you can download the Recycle Coach. We just share the links where you can find it, and it's completely for free. So yeah, I use it and it's very good. Next, please. So here we have an example of one of our guides, and that is available on the link that Preston shared before. If you keep this handy, it will tell you some of the things that I have explained today and more. And I hope you have a chance to take a look at it, and I hope you find them useful. And if you have any feedback, you can always contact us, and we will. We appreciate your input regarding these guides and tools for communications. So thank you again for being here today. And Josh has a fun activity for all of us. So go ahead, Josh.
Josh, you're muted.
Yes. Always one time. It has to happen once, right? All right. Yeah. So now we're going to enter into the game show portion. Maria shared with us those wonderful resources, and I think we hope that we know there's a lot of stuff in the world, and it's hard to know what goes where. So more important than actually memorizing everything is really having those skills to turn to those resources, the flyer, Recycle Coach, and the website to know what goes where. So to do that, we're going to play a little game, and Preston has some polls set up for us. And let's see, there we go. And we're gonna see what goes where. So first up, we've got some plastic bottles. So Preston's gonna make a poll there, and we're gonna see what you all think. Where do plastic bottles go? And obviously, we just gave you those resources 10 seconds ago, so don't feel bad if you missed any of them. And results will not be individualized. It'll be collective. You'll just see our collective results. So no worries.
All right, ending. Let's see. I'm going to share the results with everybody.
All right, right on. Everybody, 100% recycle container. That is exactly right. Great, great, great.
Excellent.
Yeah, like to see that. All right. What about these used napkins, used paper towels? Where do these go? I mean, if y'all get them all right, we got to make harder questions next time. That might be our takeaway. Let's see.
So people are still answering. Got 11 of 16 people answered, 12. Give it just a couple more seconds.
I think we need game show music. Probably.
Yeah, oh gosh, see,
Maybe.
I forgot all about that. I
Yeah.
should have. All right, share results. All
right, so we've got a few different ones here, but garbage container, yeah, that is the right answer. So in used paper towels, used napkins, the thread is not actually strong enough to make paper again. It's often actually out of recycled paper already, so the thread aren't long enough, aren't strong enough, so they don't have a end use that's useful. So garbage container is the correct answer. All right, let's go on to the next one. Oh, yeah, that was right. And here, these are these crinkly plastics. So they're often called clamshell plastics. This is a common one that's confusing for a lot of people. We get a lot of questions about this one. So what do you all think?
Votes are coming in. 10 of 16. Just give it another second or two.
I feel like Family Feud.
Yeah.
Survey says.
You could always do our Josh. Josh, you could be our music.
Yeah, that would our participants numbers would go down very rapidly. All right, so this one, right, Tacoma Recycle Center, or if you can't make it Tacoma Recycle Center, the garbage. That's the correct one. It's common that people are confused about these ones because they do have that recycle symbol in the bottom, right? But the recycle symbol actually is for the plastic industry. You see the number in the middle? That's for the plastic industry to know what kind of plastic it is. It's not actually to say that it's accepted in your neighborhood curbside recycling. So you can kind of tell these apart by the shape method that Maria mentioned earlier. I kind of call them also the crinklier plastics. They have that kind of give that like a plastic bottle like pops, you know, when you move it, but these ones kind of crinkle. That's how I remember. I don't know if that's not helpful, but we do take those at the recycle center, or we can put them in the garbage. So let's go on to the next one. What about these kind of like cardboard like food containers? Maria mentioned these earlier. So
coming in, people seem to be pretty certain about this one.
All right.
All right, give it another few seconds and we'll close it there.
All right, recycling container, right on. Yep, that is right. These can go just in your residential curbside. That is right. And plastic bags. This is another common thing that we run into a lot. And I think in the past, I'll just let you do the poll. How about that? I don't want to spoil.
No, I like the backfill on it though. I like the backfill, everything going on behind the scenes. So yeah, keep it up. Okay, just go ahead and end that one. Share the results.
Recycle center or garbage, right on. Yeah, so we do accept those at the recycle center. We do put them in the garbage. The reason why you don't want to put them in your residential container is that they do get stuck in the machines at the sorting facility. So when your residential recycling gets sorted, there's a big machine that does it, and plastic bags get stuck in it, and they actually have to shut the machine down, and a few times a day they have to go in, and with box cutters people go in and cut out the plastic bags. So we definitely don't want those in our residential recycling. So.
I would like to point out that even though there's two different answers on this one, the group was 100% correct.
Yes, yeah. You all are doing great. All right, and some food waste. How about this?
Okay, votes are still coming in. Somewhat sure. Couple different answers competing right now. All right, I'll go ahead and end and share the results.
Right, yeah, food and yard waste container. These go there if you have them. And if not, definitely the garbage container. You don't want these ending up in the recycling container. Food contamination leads to mold in our recycling system, which impedes our ability to make new things out of the recycling and lowers its value. So yeah, well, I hope that was interactive and you all enjoyed our little game. I think we're going to pause and take some questions here. And Preston, I think you probably have some in the Q&A.
I do, yeah, yeah. I answered one just because it was a little nuanced, but for the group, I think it'd be good to share. So, the question was, what happens when my stuff in the recycling bin is clean and dry, but my neighbor's is wet, and we're on the same curbside schedule? Does that essentially contaminate the entire truckload? My answer was, it really kind of depends on the level of wetness, right? Because there's a lot of different materials in there, and so I would say potentially yes, if the stuff is soaked, like say if they've been, have a container full of cardboard, it's been sitting out in these classic winter Pacific Northwest days over say a week, yeah, that could potentially contaminate the entire truckload. But if it's just a little bit, like people have been, as you should, rinsing out containers, shaking them out, that'll be fine, no big deal there. Try to get to some of these too. The tops of pizza boxes are usually not greasy. Are they okay if we remove the greasy part? Great question. The answer would be we don't accept them in our curbside recycling, regardless, like pizza boxes in general. Technically, you're spot on. The grease is the issue. And a lot of that, I think in your question, you kind of allude to the challenge that we face in saying that they're usually not greasy. And that can kind of create a gray area for a lot of customers when trying to communicate. Do we accept them? Do we not accept them? We've tried a couple different routes. So we found that the clearest way to communicate that is just not to accept pizza boxes in our curbside recycling bin because they do create problems for the paper mills. Another question was, are clean straws recyclable at the recycling center? The answer would be yes. We do accept those in our 3 through 7 bin at the recycling center. Why is curbside glass pickup unsafe on my side of the street, but acceptable for the condos across the street? Well, without knowing exactly what that situation is, it depends on the collection methodology. With the residential collection methodology for curbside glass, we retrofitted old collection trucks, and it was a manual process of taking the container and dumping it into the recycling truck. And in that process, there's a lot of wear and tear on the body, so far as picking up these containers, bending back over, and then also there's splashback from the glass actually going into the truck itself. So that was our third largest on-the-job injury program that we run. With the condos, usually we're picking up in a container with just glass, and so that may be done by a truck, so eliminating some of those safety hazards. The question was, why does the cap need to go into the trash? This is kind of like the greasy pizza boxes. The caps themselves, usually whether you screw it on and it's on when you put it in there, usually during our collection process, the truck is a compactor, right? And so it pushes all those materials together. Those tops come off. At the processor, they have a conveyor belt where they process all the materials, and those conveyor belts have grates on them, so small things can fall through. Usually those caps, about 90% of the time, fall through and get swept up as garbage. So our philosophy in Tacoma is that our customers intend to have that item recycled when they put it in the blue bin. So we need to ensure that as much as possible. And with caps, we just can't do that. Another question was, why not compost bin for tissue paper? I will defer that answer to Dan in his presentation and let him take that one. And another question, even Ziplocs are accepted at the recycling center? Correct, we do accept those with our plastic bags. Should the clear plastic on recyclable boxes be pulled out before putting them in the recycle bin? No, that's fine. So far as like on a pasta box is probably what you're talking about, something like that. No, those windows are fine. Same thing with mailers, those kind of things. The windows are fine. Another couple questions. Does Seattle have a recycle center as good as Tacoma's recycling center? Well, that's a little up for interpretation, right? I would say no, but I support our recycling center staff. But technically, they have lots of different recycling centers in Seattle, and I know Dan probably has a lot of experience with his knowledge and history in Seattle area too, so he may be able to add on to that as well. Dan, do you have anything to add about any kind of like recycling centers in the Seattle area?
Oh, we got them, but I'm not going to compare them to Tacoma's. This presentation is all about recycling in Tacoma.
Good deal. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, and the freezer containers picture shows those boxes are not accepted. Why is that? A lot like with to-go coffee cups, they usually contain a thin plastic film on the inside to act as a moisture barrier. That can create problems for the processor, for the paper mills as they break those things down. So it's a little technical aspect to it. So we, and not all of the freezer boxes have them, but again, for clarity of communication, we don't accept them. I noticed that you're recording this. Will it be available to watch in the future somewhere? I believe so, Janda. I don't know how you record these or when you send these out.
Preston, the recordings get downloaded from Zoom and then uploaded again, and it takes a few days to get that to happen. But they will be on the YouTube channel that is the City of Tacoma YouTube channel. And they will have a link on the EnviroHouse website page too. And if I have a chance, once this is over, I can email the participants and give them those links.
Perfect. Another question came in about number 10 envelopes with clear plastic for the address. I answered that earlier. It's fine to put in there with the plastic. You don't need to remove that prior to putting it into the recycle bin. Does Recycle Coach apply to Tacoma only? The answer would be no. It's a broader app. Then they have multiple clients across the US and I believe Canada too. I think it's a Toronto-based company. So lots of municipalities have that or other forms of the similar kind of program. They're just a different company maybe. But we use Recycle Coach in Tacoma. Question was, there's a medicine bottle in the photo on the first quiz question, but I was told at the recycling center that med bottles aren't accepted, which is true. And if they're not, why? Great eye. That photo was actually a collection of bottles that we had, and we tried to remove that as much as possible because you're correct. We don't, they don't want to accept med bottles or supplement bottles because technically they're considered hazardous waste. But we have not been able to get that photo completely removed from there, but we've tried to brush out any kind of the labeling or anything like that. So great eye on that. But bottom line is medicine bottles, supplement bottles, vitamin bottles are not accepted because they're considered hazardous waste technically. Used napkins are understandably not recyclable for contamination, but what about unused napkins? I'm trying to think, technically they would probably be okay. I don't know why someone would have a whole lot of unused napkins that they would just want to recycle, but maybe. So yeah, technically that would be okay, but if they've been used at all, no. Can bubble packaging envelopes be recycled at the recycle center? The answer is yes. Yay Tacoma, yes. Yay Tacoma, indeed. And you mentioned the crinkle on clamshells is what alerts you to the unrecyclability. Does that then apply to the thin-walled disposable water bottles? So it's an interesting term that you use, recyclability. We say not accepted curbside because technically there's lots of items that could be recycled that we don't accept curbside or actually are recyclable, but because of the process that curbside recycling goes through, they don't fit within our system. So I wouldn't say that clamshells or thin-walled disposable water bottles aren't recyclable. They are. They're just not accepted. The clamshells aren't accepted curbside because of optical sorting issues. Those same which sometimes send it into the paper, contaminating a lot of paper. With the disposable water bottles, those would be okay because they're a different kind of shape. And so those are going to be processed and kicked towards the plastics. Bubble wrap and peanuts, are these recyclable at the recycle center? Bubble wrap we do accept, peanuts we do not, because those won't get recycled. We used to offer them for reuse, but we just don't have space to hold those anymore. So with that, I think I got through all the questions except for tissue paper in the compost bin, which feeds nicely into our next presentation from Dan Corum on our food and yard waste program. So Dan, I see you're up. I'll kick it over to you for your next.
We have 19 questions in the Q&A.
And I have answered all but one of them.
Those are, okay. I thought you were getting them from the chat. Okay, thanks.
No. Okay. Dan, I will pass it over to you, and welcome to our food and yard waste program.
Okay. Let me pull this together. Okay, how's that look?
Looking great, coming in clear.
Okay. Great. Well, let's talk about food cycling. And I'm going to start us out with a one-question survey. What environmental issue are you most concerned about? And Preston's going to share a little form for you there. Plastic pollution, climate change, water pollution, air pollution, deforestation. I'm sorry, I don't have other options for you, but out of those 5.
See, we've got, oh, here they're coming in quick now.
Awesome. This is just your personal opinion. You know, what do you think? Get us started out. And
good balance on this. They're all important, right?
Well, they are all important, and they are all interrelated. That's the thing too.
Give it just another second. All right, I'll go ahead and end, share the results.
Okay, well, let's see, plastic pollution at the top. Yeah, you know, yeah, microplastics especially. Climate change, yep, 36. Water pollution, air pollution, deforestation, yeah. Okay, this is great. I love to see this kind of like interest overall. Today, however, I'm going to be talking more about just one of those. Let's see here. And my second question is to you is, what if we could reverse climate change? And this isn't in a survey form. I'm just kind of asking you, what if we could reverse climate change? Do you think it's possible? It would require 2 things. One is reducing present and future greenhouse gas emissions like carbon dioxide and methane. For example, driving electric cars instead of gas-powered cars to reduce tailpipe emissions. And second, it would require pulling all the existing carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and putting it someplace else, sequestering it. A huge job, and we don't have any great technological solutions for that. So, what if we could do it? How much would you pay for it? What would you be willing to do? Let me make sure I'm pushing the right button here. Okay, so here's an overview of what we will be talking about, kind of a preview. What are our current options for food waste? What is food cycling? Why does food cycling matter? And how do we food cycle right? Let's get started. For residential customers, okay, do we want to put food and yard waste in the blue bin, the brown bin, or the garbage bin? Well, you'd think it'd be the brown bin, but you know what? It's actually the garbage is where most of our food waste goes. In Tacoma, you know, the food goes, people are putting the food waste into the garbage. Let me move on here. Let me give you a run by a few statistics for you. In Tacoma, we throw out 7,000 tons of food waste each year. In fact, food waste is the most common material found in Tacoma's garbage. Food waste accounted for 23% of the city's overall waste. 23% of what's found in Tacoma's garbage is food waste. The thing is, it does go to the landfill, it does get buried, but it doesn't stay inert. When it's in the landfill, it still decomposes without air anaerobically, and it produces methane gas. Methane, as you probably know, is an incredibly powerful greenhouse gas. The EPA reminds us that methane is 36 times more potent in trapping in heat than CO2 over a 100-year period. And also that landfills are the third largest source of human-related methane emissions in the US. So let's do a little summary here. Option 1 for food waste, send it to the landfill. What happens is it increases methane, accelerating the rate of climate change. What are some other options? Well, we call it food cycling. No food goes into the landfill. Food waste is upcycled into compost or energy, and that benefits people and the planet. So how does that work? What actually happens to our food and food waste and yard waste when we put it in the brown bin? Well, one of our solid waste staff folks comes by. Let's see. Here we go. All right, sorry about that. I'm learning how to use this computer, so thank you for your patience with me. So the garbage truck picks up your food waste. It goes out to the compost factory, which is off of Highway 161 as you're heading out to Roy. It's a huge building. It's like football stadium size. And inside they grind everything up and mix it together. And if you look at the left-hand bottom corner there, you can see the inside of the building. There's a piece of equipment in that picture. It's called a windrow turner, and it is literally turning over these giant piles of compost that are decomposing. You can see the steam coming off the pile there as it's very active in the decomposition process. And when it's all done, and when it's cured and when it's complete, then it's sold to farmers, it's sold to landscapers, and they put it out in the soil, and it's used to grow things that are beautiful and things that we like to eat. So option 2 for food waste, keeps food out of the landfill, reducing methane emissions. And 2, supports plant growth, which pulls carbon out of the air into the soil, reversing climate change. What's that second point there? How does it reverse climate change? Well, let's take a little trip back to high school biology here. We won't linger here for too long, but as we know, plants pull carbon out of the air to grow. They do this through the process of photosynthesis. Using energy of the sun, plants draw the carbon dioxide from the air, and they draw water from the soil to form carbohydrates, liquid carbon sugars. These carbohydrates are used to grow the plant itself. Carbon is stored in the bodies of the plants, the stems, the trunks above ground, and in the roots below. And there is a second, less visible way that plants store carbon. The carbohydrates that plants make, 30 to 40% of those carbohydrates, those liquid carbon sugars, they're dripped back into the ground through the plant roots. Now, why would plants do that? Well, there's an amazing world underground. They are feeding underground micro and macrobiology, biology that in exchange for carbohydrates supports plant growth through providing plants with more nutrients and water. So, wow, fascinating. But what does that have to do with compost? Well, compost can jumpstart this process, especially with tired and unhealthy soils. Compost provides nutrients without synthetic fertilizers to help plants grow. How much does it help plants grow? A research study found that a one-time application of compost on overgrazed pasture land doubled plant growth. And even more relevant to our discussion, increased the carbon in the soil from 25% to as much as 75%. That's the role that compost plays in sequestering carbon. If you want to know more about this, I will be doing another webinar in April in celebration of Earth Day, as Janda mentioned. Also, if you just want to learn how to make compost, check with the EnviroHouse. There's another workshop coming up just for that. Okay, big summary. Compost reduces methane emissions, reverses climate change. It's kind of like what that brown food and yard compost bin, it's a superhero. But as you know, for every superhero, a superhero also has their kryptonite. So what is the kryptonite of the food and yard waste bin? What is the kryptonite of compost? Contamination. And as you know, contamination is just stuff that shouldn't be going into that container and that we don't want in our compost, and that our compost facility doesn't want to have to figure out what to do with. Let's take a closer look at what contamination might look like. I'm going to zoom in here on this bin. Okay, let's take a look there. See at the bottom right-hand corner there, we got a clear plastic bag. It looks like it does have food in it, but it's inside a plastic bag, so the bag's contamination. I see a plastic bottle there. It looks like it has a screw top on that. Someone took the lid off. I guess that's good, but doesn't belong in the compost bin. And then we got a larger plastic bag there, and it has stuff in it. I don't know what that stuff is. I'm looking, maybe that's like a towelette wrapper, and those are like styrofoam takeout containers. Maybe, I don't know, who knows? But it's all contamination. This picture is a picture of, we call them overs. In the composting process, they screen it at the very end to get all the big chunky things out. And you can see there's pine cones in there as a point of reference, and now there's some other sticks and pieces of wood. They're too big to decompose in that route. But also up in the left-hand corner there, you can see it looks like something like a hanger. Maybe it's a sock hanger or something. It's plastic, it doesn't belong there. Also at the bottom right-hand kind of side there, more in the middle there, you can see a big piece of plastic, like a plastic bag. Okay, the good news for this stuff is that these were screened out. The bad news is that anything that was really smaller than that, it didn't really get taken out. And here's the issue. So if there's too much contamination in a truckload of food and yard waste, it doesn't even get turned into compost, doesn't even get processed. It just goes straight to the landfill. So with that in mind, we want to keep our contamination out of the compost. So it is time to play another round of What Goes Where, Food Cycling Edition, newly updated for 2021. Preston, you want to get us started with our first question? Now, I'll just tell you, now, I think you guys are going to do really well on this. In fact, I expect it, I'm anticipating like 100% here, but we'll see. All right. Let's start out.
Dan, did you bring the music, the game show music?
No, I did bring the music, but it's going on inside my head. It's good. Maybe other people can have music going on in their heads as they answer this question.
That's right.
Okay, your set of answers here.
Coming in. Just give it a few more seconds. And we'll stop it there.
And garbage container, Tacoma Recycling Center. Yes, ideally the Tacoma Recycling Center. But yeah, if you're trying to pick between putting that in the recycling container, the food waste container, put it in the garbage. Okay. Ideally, make that extra trip to the Tacoma Recycling Center. It is such a cool place, and I'd like it better than Seattle too. Okay. Let's go. Oh yeah, what goes where? These look like Brussels sprouts. We're just talking about the sprouts, not the basket. We're just talking sprouts. Of course, you keep the basket because you reuse it for something else.
Lovely potpourri or something.
Yeah, you know, or you could put maybe something, oranges in it, or apples, or yeah, you know, what your junk mail before you take it out to the recycling center. Preston.
All right.
Oh, look! Oh, bingo! Yes, the food and yard waste container, 100% on that one. But the real thing is like, why would you really want to put it in the food and yard waste bin anyway? You're gonna want to eat those things, right? A little olive oil, a little salt, roast them in the oven, 350. Yeah, delicious. So yeah, but you could put them in the food and yard waste bin. Oh, my favorite, it is the wish cycling round. Let me get this right here. Wish cycling, like wishing on a shooting star for a dream to come true. You put items in the food and yard waste because you hope and believe they should go there. See the little shooting star? Here's your question. What goes where? 100% biodegradable compost bag. You have this.
Coming in.
Oh, just pick one.
Give it a few more seconds. We got about 3/4 of folks have voted.
Oh, good.
Some
It's a hard
folks they
one.
may be thinking,
Yeah, it's a hard
maybe
one.
some new Tacomans from coming from Seattle or otherwise.
Maybe. It's definitely a shooting star item.
All right, results coming at you, Dan.
Oh, excellent. Garbage container is the right answer. We got some food waste container, Tacoma Recycling Center. Oh, I don't think the Tacoma Recycling Center wants those either. So no. So yeah, the answer would be the garbage. And this is a tough one for folks because our Northern Emerald City folks, they promote compostable items, forks and knives and bags and plates and cups. Unfortunately, not all municipalities are the same. We compost, and different compost facilities compost different things and have different processes. Our facility that we use, they don't accept compostable bags or compostable products. And I've seen it in finished product. You can see those green pieces of compostable bags. They don't completely break down. And just because it says compostable doesn't mean it's compostable for all composting systems. And if you ever tried to compost one of those at home, it's like, this isn't breaking down quick enough. And it's the same for them. There are other multiple reasons for why a facility might not want compostable bags. One I'll just mention for folks is that if they want to sell their compost to organic farmers, but they accept compostable products, they can't do that because to get the organic certification, they can't accept like human produced manufactured products, which compostable bags are those. So it's actually kind of a national guideline. They can't accept compost that has those compostable products in it. So there's a lot of reasons, but that's just a couple of them. So I know disappointing, especially if you move down here to get a great house here in Tacoma from Seattle and you're used to using them, but we don't accept them. All right, what goes where? And we're not promoting any particular brands of coffee here.
I don't even recognize that one. Isn't that the quaint little local spot that opened up in Seattle a few years back?
Like I said, I'm not here promoting any particular brand.
Dan's getting a kickback on this whole thing.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly right. No,
All right.
I'm just happy to be here. So what's the results? Oh, garbage, yes, okay, and the recycling container. No, not the recycling container. Oh, that's a tough one. You got most of them have that thin plastic liner on them. Yeah, we don't want them at in the recycling container. So they go in the garbage. I mean, hopefully, after this COVID thing's gone, you can just bring your own mug, right? And that's really the best solution. Oh, the pizza box. Where does it go?
Pizza box.
Let's find out here. This one, I have high expectations for the answers on this one. I'm also expecting lots of questions at the end, so go ahead and get them ready.
You've got quite a few. I've just kind of been waiting until we get towards the end to get rid of this. But one thing, what I saw a comment come in that you may have a thought on is compostable plastic bags only compost into a microplastic that even little fishes will eat. Bad idea. You have any thoughts on that, on so far as the kind of the breakdown of plastic bags or just plastics in general?
Well, it does depend. Well, plastic bags, definitely it's microplastic. They just get smaller and smaller and smaller. I mean, they don't really degrade. For something to truly compost, it needs to be something that little microbes, the bacteria can chew up and digest and spit out again and poop again. I mean, that's what we're looking for. So we don't want things that just get smaller and degrade, and that's what plastic does. The compostable bags, okay, yay, we got that one, 100% on the garbage container. But with the compostable bags, the ones that have been truly certified to be compostable, and there are national standards for this, they actually do degrade. They actually do compost, but they do it at different rates than what some facilities can handle. And also they are something that's been manufactured. Okay, glad that we got the
Thank you.
pizza box thing down. Where are we at now? Oh, so if you need more information, Recycling Coach is not just for recycling like bottles and cans and that sort of thing, but you can also ask Milo questions about food waste and if it goes in or if it stays out. I think Preston's going to give you that link. You'll find that on the, right now it's just on the Tacoma Recycling page. But yeah, I think we should probably get that up on our food and yard waste city webpage as well. Another great resource. And the thing about this is that it's tailored for Tacoma. So while it's it's an app that's used nationally, ours is, if you type in your zip code, okay, it'll give you the right answers for Tacoma. And of course, we have flyers that you can download too. Those are on the Food and Yard website. Lots of detail here. I'm not going to go over them, but yeah, everything you wanted to know about like yard waste and food waste, if you can go in your container and what you can do with it and what's not accepted with that. It's also, if you go to the website, they're in multiple languages too. So great resources for everyone in our community. So at the beginning, I asked you about climate change, and we can do something to reverse climate change. It starts in Tacoma by keeping that 7,000 tons of food waste out of our landfill so we can stop making methane and turn food waste into soil-loving, plant-loving compost to sequester carbon. Okay, I'm open for some questions now.
I saw a lot of food and yard waste superheroes flying through Tacoma on that last slide.
Awesome. Oh yeah, they're out there. You guys just need to be open to them.
That's right. So you ready for your lightning round, Dan? I got about 11 questions coming at you right now. Going back to one that was asked during the first presentation, so why not tissue paper in the compost bin?
Yeah, the bureaucratic answer is because of our contract with the compost factory. They basically, we don't want any paper in there. A lot of it's also just to kind of protect the workers. If you think about COVID, people blowing their noses and what's going on there, certainly right now, we don't want to spread that material. We want it to go in the garbage. But it's really, they don't want those kinds of fibers. And often the other thing that happens is often there's a lot of contamination that comes with it.
Great, thank you. This one I always have to think about. Well, I've remembered since working with you, but Maria asked, never sure if grease or fat is okay for the food waste.
Oh yeah, a little bit's okay, but like when you do your like Thanksgiving turkey deep fry, all that grease, no, we do not want it in the bin. So think about like maybe like a little half cup or something you can barely squeeze in there, but really we don't want a lot of grease in the system. And we don't want it going down the drain. You can bring it to the recycling center if you have volumes like after Thanksgiving for that delicious turkey. Never had better.
Perfect. So another question, if we have a backyard, would food waste and yard waste be best for composting there?
Oh, that's an awesome question. And I won't pull the trick of, well, wait until you take the composting class to find out. The problem with putting really tasty food out is that it attracts, we call it a vector for other wildlife like Rattus rattus, Rattus norvegicus, all kinds of rats love to go for that, especially like meat and dairy products. Things like, lettuce, vegetables chopped up and put in, worked in a little bit. I'll do that in my home compost, but yeah, you want to avoid things that are really odoriferous, but like meats and fish, dairy products, they'll compost, but yeah, you basically became a professional rat exterminator is what you've done with that, because you put it out there and they will come. So you can do it. We discourage it for that reason. So you can use your brown bin for those materials.
Good intention, but may not work well in practice.
Awesome intention. And if you could get a super hot pile, and if you're that skilled of a composter, you could possibly do it. But most of us, we do a little slower process. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned the curing process during your presentation. Could you talk a little bit more? Pamela is curious and would like to know a little bit more about the details of that process.
Yeah. So the compost factory, they move material through really quick. I think it's less than 30 days. And so the compost, it's done in its thermophilic stage, and it's really hyperactive, just chewing everything up, and the population of bacteria just exploding in there. Then it kind of starts to calm down. They call it the mesophilic stage, but it's still pretty active. You wouldn't want to put it out in the ground because it would, it's not finished, and it'd be bad for the plants. They wouldn't do so well. So it needs to sit for at least another month in a big pile. And we call that curing in the industry. And that's the place where, it'll get screened, it'll get finished up, but basically it has to sit for another month, even though the active composting is complete. Yeah, great question.
So it's kind of like the dirt version of like a nice Italian cured meat, but it's creates soil.
I have no idea. Sure. Yeah, I'll take your word for it, Preston.
Perfect. So another question, with small household kind of bins, when they're waiting to go put it in their big bin from their kitchen, is it okay to line that with some newspaper or something like that and put that into the bin?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. If you use like a sheet of newspaper to line your kitchen food waste bin with, that would be okay, or even like a paper bag. They generally, the compost factories, like, we're okay with that, but we don't want people like taking all their paper plates and napkins from their socially distanced family reunion and stuffing it in there. So and they don't want like a stack of newspaper, and they don't want a ton of all your Amazon boxes, and they don't want that. So a little bit they're okay with, but so yes, that's okay, but not more than that.
Could you, another question, could you describe what is the name of the facility that we use for our composting, and can you tell a little bit about it real quick?
Yeah, I think it's called the Compost Factory. Also, another name is LRI. It's out by the Hidden Valley landfill, so just off of Highway 161, outside of Puyallup, heading towards Roy, is where it's at. And it's a fascinating building because what they did is they built this huge, like, inside, like it's a football-sized stadium building. So they do that so all the odors are controlled and they can manage it. And they have giant fans, and they have they call them biofilters, or like these where they pull all the air from inside the building and they push it through this medium, and actually what it is, it's like the bacteria in this medium, they eat all the odor before it goes out. And what's happened, which is really smart when they built this facility, because right now there's neighborhoods that have grown up and housing that's grown up all around that facility. And if you know anything about making compost, that occasionally, like when you turn it, there's a little odor associated with it, and people don't like odor when they're doing their backyard barbecues. So they have it all contained in a building. And yeah, that's how it works. Pretty cool.
Very cool.
Project. Most compost facilities try to locate them out of populated areas because of that reason. But the drawback is that you have to transport it there. So it's, it becomes more costly with taking stuff there.
So you mentioned compostable bags are a no-go for Tacoma. What about other compostable products?
Yeah, they're a no-go too. None of the compostable products. I mean, it's a heartbreak, especially, like I said, if you got used to them, and it's like, they're super convenient. They are expensive. It's like, so, but if you're buying compostable products for Tacoma, you're putting out extra cash that you don't need to put out. It's kind of a waste, and we don't want them in the system. And I should just say, it just seems so, like I said, I worked in Seattle for years, and I promoted compostable products because they use them in their system. But down here they don't. And pretty much anywhere south of Seattle and into Oregon, the compost facilities, they don't want compostable products. So it has its uses, but here in Tacoma we don't.
Yeah, I think Seattle's I was on a call earlier this week and talking to some folks over in Tennessee and South Carolina too, and they're facing a lot of problems with their food and yard waste by people trying to put compostable products in there, and then their processor, just like ours, doesn't see any value in it and doesn't find it to be beneficial. So yeah, I think Seattle's kind of the outlier in this aspect, but hopefully we can all get more on the same page moving forward about it.
Yeah, and kudos to Seattle, because they were pioneers in just trying to get people to get food waste out of the system, and they saw these compostable products as a way to help do that. I mean, honestly, they're not interested in the compostable products; they're interested in the food associated with them.
Right.
And the compostable products, they don't really add anything to the compost. I mean, they don't add nutritional value, so it's mostly just for convenience.
So another question, what about our furry friends? Animal waste, is that accepted?
Yeah, you'd like to put your dog poop in there. And you'd like to put your dog poop in a compostable bag and then put it in there. Not quite a bit too. Actually, we don't want it. And again, it's kind of an issue, a vector for disease and that sort of thing. So what you can do, if you have a yard, you can dig. There's some other great options that you can try out. For now, put the dog poop in the garbage, but you could you can take like a garbage can and make an old one that has some holes in the bottom. If not, you can poke a few, dig a hole, put that can in the ground. It has a lid for it, and then you can put your dog poop in there and put the lid over the top of it. And that's a good way, and it'll break down over time. If it doesn't break down quick enough, you can get some of those septic sewer enzymes. I think it's called, is it Reddit? No, that's something you look at as an app. Anyway, I think, but it is called something like that. But you can get enzymes that you can put in there if it doesn't break down quick enough. But generally, it works quite well. And that's how you can manage your dog poop. And you can kick it under like plants where the kids aren't going to play. Don't put it in your garden. Again, it's a vector for diseases.
Coffee pods, coffee filters. Where do those go?
Coffee filters, okay. The paper ones, okay. Coffee pods, no. Even the ones that say compostable, no, don't do it. Again, it seems like a great idea, but they're not accepted in our system. So I know that's a heartbreak for folks. The coffee that's in those little pods, if you want to break open that top and shake those into your, a food waste container on your kitchen counter, that's great, okay? Or you can just take them and put them outside in your flower bed or something like that. But the containers, not so much, not in Tacoma. Yeah, another heartbreak. Sorry about that.
Another question, you already mentioned kind of a little bit of newspaper is all right. Brown paper bags, do you use napkins? How do you feel about those going in the food and yard waste?
Yeah, let's keep the used napkins out. Right now, the compost factory doesn't really want them, but they're like, we get that sometimes you need something to kind of manage the odors and the mess, and a sheet of newspaper is okay. It's super thin. Yeah.
Okay. This one's kind of recycle, but I think it applies a lot to compost too. What happens when something is thrown in the recycle bin that shouldn't have been thrown in there? And I think from recycling perspective, it depends on what the material is. Like Josh mentioned in his presentation, plastic bags can wrap around machinery, causing delays in the processing process, and also just putting workers in precarious positions. They got to climb up 20, 30 feet up in the air and actually get those things off. Same thing for what in the industry is called tanglers, like hoses, lights, those kind of things that can get wrapped around. But I guess bottom line is it can be really detrimental to the process and can put people in precarious positions. And I think that'd probably be the same for compost too, right?
Yeah, somewhat. It's more about finished product, honestly. Although, yeah, it's pretty much that is the issue. And just think about it. It's like, if you toss it in there, would you want to eat that? Would you want to eat food grown from what you've put in there, that food and yard waste bin? That's really the question to be asking yourself. And so, yeah, plastic bags, we already got enough microplastic in our bodies right now. We don't need any more. So
right. Does the compost factory, do they do any tours or anything like that?
I don't believe they do. I'm gonna say no. I have been there. Is probably when they first built the thing 20 years ago, and toured that facility. It is crazy. It's like Mount Rainier. It creates its own weather inside. It's like foggy and it's kind of crazy. But I think the answer would be no. If they ever do, and if they're game, yeah, we'll let you know, and we can maybe set something up. That'd be super fun to do, like EnviroHouse tour of the compost factory. But
yeah, Same thing for us too, like with the recyclables, they go to JMK Fibers down in the Tide Flats, which is owned by Waste Management, the big for-profit business. And a lot of it has to do with safety too, right? They don't really give tours for the public. I've been once since I've been with the city, and I know even our council members have maybe been once, just because they have to really make sure that everything's safe and secure for those kinds of tours and those kind of things. Pamela mentioned in the chat too, I think it's Cedar Grove and Everett does do some tours. So yeah.
Let me jump in here a second, because this could be a good topic for us to talk about doing a virtual tour if we could get the partners to agree to do that. We are talking about doing some virtual tours of the Recycle Center and maybe the EnviroHouse or the grounds. So those might be options for us going forward.
Good idea. Yeah. And then there's just a few other ones that we can get to. One question is on pizza boxes, tearing off the greasy part, putting in the recycle. The answer is no, we're not accepting pizza boxes in our food and yard waste bin or recycle bin, so please place those in the trash. Question on what's the safest way of disposing of broken glass in the trash? My answer would be carefully. No, but seriously, I would say potentially use paper towels, maybe. That's a little bit like to kind of protect yourself. I'm not sure what that situation is, but more or less be careful, be safe when you're disposing of broken glass, and be careful of it sticking out the sides as well. Dan answered question about coffee paper filters with the grounds in. Those are okay for the food and yard waste, just not the pods. And one other question was video of the recycling process and center. I'll be sure to put that resource in to answer that question. And I think that got through all of our questions, Dan.
Great. Great questions too.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I see some stuff in the question about really clean milk cartons. We do not accept cartons, and that actually is both kind of a technical aspect, but also a markets issue too. As Josh was mentioning in his presentation, recycling's an international market. It's a for-profit international business. And if the markets aren't there for someone to buy them, then processors don't want them, because then it's their responsibility to dispose of them correctly and figure out what to do with that supply. The deal with cartons, those like aseptic cartons that like chicken broth can come in, or milk cartons, often they're so lightweight and the material is so small in them that it's really difficult to get all of the liquid out. Like even a little bit in there over time can mold and spread to the entire container, and that degrades the overall material. And the amount of time that it takes processors to collect enough to make it economically viable for them to send to market, there's a lot of mold that goes into that. So it just doesn't make financial sense from the processor's perspective to collect those materials. They're working on those, but they're working on those markets, but they're not quite there yet. Another question on Amazon bags that are gray inside. I think you're talking about those like real thin plastic ones that they'll send. Of course, they put a box inside there too. They could have just sent the box, but they choose to put them in this bag. We do accept those at the Recycle Center with the plastic bags. And then Fancy Feast cans. I'm a cat owner as well. We do accept pet food cans in there. The caveat with that is the lids actually can be kind of hazardous for people that work on the processor line. So if you have tin cans, aluminum cans, pet food cans, if you can't keep those attached and tuck those into the container, then put the lids in the trash, and then you can throw the can into the recycling. But just make sure it's empty, clean, and dry. Laundry soap containers. Yes, those are fine. Just be sure to give those a good rinse. Usually those are either number 1s or number 2 plastic, which are highly recyclable. And those would probably fall under a jug in Tacoma. So yes, we do accept those in our curbside recycling. Greasy pizza boxes and soiled napkins are accepted in Republic. Why is it so different with Tacoma? Well, so recycling is super localized, right? So we all have different processors that we use that want different materials based on what their technology can handle. And so wherever Republic's serving, which Republic's a huge company, depends on which of their territories you're talking about, but they may be sending to a different processor that actually wants those materials. So we in Tacoma, we coordinate really closely with our processor, and they do not want any pizza boxes or soiled napkins or anything like that. So yeah, we don't want that. Janda reminded me, yes, you can take flat can lids to the recycle bin to recycle center to put in the scrap metal bin. That is true. Thanks for that, Janda. What about those plastic Starbucks lids cleaned? And I saw another question I think came in earlier around caps and lids, so I'll try to combine this question on both. We don't want caps, lids, anything like that. One, the caps, the smaller things will fall through. The lids on like yogurt containers, Starbucks lids, those kind of things, those actually can get flattened and either sorted with the paper, or they can actually jam the machinery in the process. So again, it's kind of a process issue. And then packaging materials inside of an Amazon box, bag of air, if you will, are those recyclable at the recycling center? Yes, they will take those with the plastic bags over there as well. And I'm just pulling up the chat, want to make sure I got everything. Cat litter box with some oily stuff, foily stuff. Good correction, Patricia. Cat litter box. I'm trying to think what those are made of, because we don't use a cat litter box in my, like we don't use like the box kind. We have like bags of them, cardboard box. It should be okay. It depends on what that liner is. If it's like a wax liner on it, no, we don't want that. But I would have to say I need to look at it more. If you want to take a picture, what I'll do, Patricia, for you, I will put my email in the chat box, and you can just follow up with me if you'd like with a picture. I can look at it, and I'll double check with our processor if I'm not sure. So jar tops that are metal, can they go to the recycle center scrap metal bin? Yes, they can. And I think that is it. We got about 9 more minutes left. I just wanted to give an opportunity. One, I want to say thank you to all of our panelists for taking time on their Saturday to educate us all on food and yard waste and recycling in Tacoma. Very much appreciated to all. I wanted to open up a little space if any of the panelists wanted to say anything, and then Janda, I will pass it over to you to help wrap us up, if that's all right.
So go to the panelists.
Yeah, anybody have anything to say, just wrapping us up, or is everybody good? Give me a thumbs up if you're good.
Good. Maybe we, maybe Maria and I, our contact information could go out in that summary email as well.
Yeah, I'll be sure to include that. Yeah, we saw, I've got a lot of our links and questions, and I see a question from Patricia on the link for the recording. It takes a couple of days to upload to the cloud. You know, it's in process of evaporation up to the cloud. And
also, Preston, we have to rely on, there are like 3 staff people involved in this. So I download it, we label it, it goes to somebody else, and then it goes to somebody else to get uploaded. So
that's right.
Everybody has their own work schedule. So we have to get this all fit into everybody's schedule and get it up. And then I need to send all that information out. So.
Well, you know, it wouldn't be proper government bureaucracy unless 3 or 4 people did it. So, you know.
That's right.
No, but thanks for the clarification on that. And we will get this information out to all of those that attended as soon as possible. Dog walker. I have a good question for all of the panelists, a little philosophical exercise. I once saw a dog walker put dog poop in a neighbor's trash can. Is that ethical? Anyone want to take that?
Of course not.
I would say probably not, but you know, as with ethics, it all depends on the situation, kind of, right?
is the bag compostable? That's the no.
Yeah. Not sure, but good question.
There was also a question in there, I think about, and I don't think it got answered, about videos on the recycling process. Yes. I think it said. Yeah. So we don't have anything current that I'm aware of, but I don't think it got mentioned in here. We do have the Enviro shorts that I think are still up on the website. And those are videos that we did, I don't know, probably 6 years ago now, but there were videos of the recycle center, of the recycling process, of the landfill, so that you could see the whole process of what was being dumped at that time. We can put that link in the chat, but I think also if you just Google City of Tacoma Enviro shorts, you might be able to come up with the link as well. And there are 5 or 6 of them. There was also a really fascinating one, I thought, of the wastewater treatment plant that showed how the waste from your toilet and whatever goes into the treatment plant, how that's treated, how those liquids and solids are separated, how Tagro is made. And then it ended with a really cool aerial video showing a link of, you know, everything going around and where it went. So that's on that link also.
Yeah, and I was able to pull up that Enviro short really quickly, and I just put that in there. And I think Patricia did the same thing. Thank you, Patricia, helping out. Always appreciate an extra hand on this. So yes. Oh, and she put, thank you, Patricia. Patricia put a link to my urban green segment where I talk about the, basically give a condensed version of what Josh talked about earlier, and then go through some common items. So, and then you get to look at me even more so than you have this morning already. So. So yeah, with that, we got like 5 more minutes left. I think, Janda, you want to bring us home?
Yeah, I would just wrap it up by thanking everyone for being here. Check out the links when we send them out. If you don't see what you want right away, what I have found is that often if I just do cityoftacoma.org/ and put what I'm looking for, urban forestry, recycle center, EnviroHouse, a lot of times you can just come up with what you're looking for that way. Don't forget to check back with us, and for the multiple workshops in April, join us next weekend for chickens. And you can find all of those listed at cityoftacoma.org/workshops, where you can register for upcoming. And you can also find the recorded versions of everything that we've done so far since last May. So thank you again.
Perfect.
And let us know if you have questions.
Perfect. Well, thank you all, and thank you to all of our participants and attendees who came today and were super engaged and asking lots of questions. I think we got somewhere over 40 questions today, so that was amazing. Thank you so much for asking all of that and being engaged this morning on a Saturday, and we hope that it was helpful. And yeah, like Janda said, hope to see you at future EnviroHouse webinars and hopefully in person sometime in the near future.
Hopefully this year.
Fingers crossed. All right, everyone. Well, we'll sign off there, and thank you for attending today.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.